This is Iona. Iona, dove, in the name of the prophet known as Jonah. There you can see it in pictographic form, and you can see how it represents the arm of Yahweh, which would come to be nailed. The arm of Yahweh would come as a man and would be nailed as he falls, descending into Sheol. And I mean falling in death, right? Not that he fell into sin, right? The fact that he descended into Sheol, and I say that because the nun means naphel, to fall. So, the arm of Yahweh came as a man to be nailed, and therefore died to descend into Sheol and give the inheritance through the revelation of his Spirit. Is that clear? So, look at how Jonah, that sign, that dove that descended upon him like the Ruach HaKodesh, can also be seen as the plan, the reason why he would come. And remember that Jonah is said to have been the child whom Elijah resurrected. Jonah was sent. I explained this in the book Declaring the End from the Beginning. Jonah was sent. And by the way, for those who don't know, you can download it completely free from the website losdelcamino.net. So, Jonah dies as a child and is resurrected. Later, as a young man, Yahweh sends him to preach to Israel to repent, to Judah, being he of the lost tribes. And they reject him. So, they start to look down on him, like he's a false prophet, because the people repented and the punishment didn't come. So they said, "You're a false prophet," because nothing happened, without understanding the clause. Then, later on, when he is already an adult, Yahweh calls him and says, "Go to Nineveh and preach to Nineveh. And if they don't repent, this, and this will happen." He goes and preaches to them. If you don't repent, you will be destroyed. They repented, so they were not destroyed. So Jonah said, "Now they're going to call me a false prophet in Israel and among the Gentiles." That was the reason he didn't want to go when Yahweh called him, right? Because the book of Jonah starts with that. He calls him to go, and Jonah goes the other way. If you just look at that, without the historical context of tradition, you might even wonder, rightfully so, how strange is this? Why would Yahweh choose someone who doesn't want to do his job? Because Jonah, being so righteous, if he's a prophet of Yahweh, when Yahweh tells him, "Go right," he goes left. There are things you can see that seem illogical, but that's due to lack of context. We don't know what had happened to him before, and that's why he was, against going through the same thing again. So, what does that represent? Jonah as a child, dying and coming back to life, preaching to the Israelites, being seen as a false prophet. This represents Yahushua coming as a son to preach to the Yahudim, who reject him and see him as a false prophet, and that's why they kill him, but Yahweh brings him back to life. And when he is sent to Nineveh as an adult, he represents the last one, coming as a father, going to the nations, the Gentiles, being seen as a false prophet, and they kill him and he comes back to life. Jonah represents both the first and the last. The book of Jonah represents the coming of the last one. He goes to the nations. Now I mention the relationship between the dove and the turtle dove, separating first and last. If we're only going to look at dove and turtle dove, first and last. But when we remove the turtle dove and only look at the dove, that same relationship can also be seen through the story of Jonah, the dove, first and last. That's why the dove and the turtle dove are so similar. They're family. So, we also see in Jonah that the hand of Yahweh would come as the Son of Man, like the prodigal son, after having fallen in order to become the heir to the throne. He goes here, or the heir to the throne, and brings the revelation of the Messiah. Look at how in the pictograph, and oh, I should have drawn it on this side. I'm covering my face. Wait and see. There, in the pictograph, notice how interesting it is that you can see the arm descending like a seed to become a man. If you see it, the hand, the arm of Yahweh, the Yud, which descended to be nailed like the Vav. And I say descended because the Vav is like a Yud that goes all the way down. See? So, the arm of Yahweh, which descended to be joined with humanity by becoming the seed that sprouted in the earth, that can be seen as either a sperm or as a seed germinating, and becoming the man, the example of man. So, the word Iona can be seen as the process of the soul of Yahweh descending to earth like a sperm and becoming a human being. Is that clear? And for that, then, Yahweh sends spirit, like a dove, which descends and enters the woman's womb, becoming the soul of the person that woman is going to give birth to.